All right. Yes, we'll just start with Counselor Sacco, see if there's any updates or news you have to bring us today.
Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone. It's great to see everybody. The expo has got to be a pretty exciting thing to do. Virtually is a whole brand new ball game that we're all, I think, still getting used to. And I don't know if we ever will get used to it, but it's neat. It's great to see everybody, and it gives you different options of what you can do. Like, having for example, Leslie, she's taking the bus right now, right from the comfort of her home, and some cool things like that we can all do. So I just wanted to give my brief update is now that we're back into phase one of things, we've got patios which are back up and open, and it was nice to see over the weekend. I know some folks thought that it might be a little bit busy, but at the same time, it also took some of the stress, quite frankly, off of our parks down on the waterfront, because people before were taking their takeout containers at the restaurants and then they were going down to the waterfront, and it was overflowing our garbages, and it got to be a really, really busy spot. So there was a noticeable difference where people weren't down there as much, and instead they were actually in the patios. So the feedback I did get from folks that are operating restaurants that do have patios, whether it's from some of the strip malls to down on Port Credit on Main Street, things like that. They're so excited to see people again, and to see the looks on people's faces. Uh, so everything is done to the best of their abilities for sure when it comes to protocols to keep everybody safe, because nobody wants to go back into a lockdown again. So all of that is happening, and really, I just wanted to say it's nice to see that these different things are happening, but please make sure that you do get your vaccines, and also continue to wear your mask, and also we're getting there, but let's not rush it too much so that we end up taking two steps back again. So, but it's great to be able to say hi to everybody, and I'm hoping, really hoping, that when the opportunity comes, I can actually come out to the center and say a big hello in person to everybody. So have a great session, and all the best for the expo, and take care.
Thank you so much. I think that would be great. We'd love to have you down, right, Jackie?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I look forward to seeing you in person. See, I need to see your legs, Counselor Dasco. I need to
Oh, thank you again. Thank you so much. Jackie, did you have anything you wanted to bring up today before we get started?
I just wanted to say that again, if you're new today and you're just joining us, please, we're happy to have you, and please continue to come and check out everything that we're doing, because it's all fantastic. And also, tomorrow, just so you know, in case you've asked who's teaching tomorrow's class, it's a slight change. It was supposed to be Libby, but it's actually Habib tomorrow. So just so you know, it's not Libby. I will be teaching Friday, so I will see you hopefully at the class on Friday. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen here. So welcome everyone to Saga Connections and the virtual Mississauga Older Adult Expo presented by Evergreen. Today is the 15th, and I know we have some regular residents on today, but just wanted to go over, this is Webex Meeting, so this looks different, or event, so this looks different than our usual format. Similar controls though, so everything is along the bottom in the toolbar. You'll have your mute, your start video. The important thing here is the reactions button. If you click on that, in order to ask a question, you'll just raise your hand so that notifies us that you have a question and we can unmute you. Or you can use the bottom right-hand corner where the blue box is and click on the chat. And we've also enabled the question and answer option, so you can submit it in there and we'll see that question come through as well. Just some quick program guidelines. Act and speak respectfully, one question at a time. Please keep your mics muted during the presentation. We'll be using the chat feature to ask questions or waiting until the end when we open for question and answer. And just a reminder, once again, this event is being recorded, so the participants cannot be seen and are muted during the presentation. So today is the 15th. We're halfway through the month and halfway through the expo. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We are going to be starting off with MiWay. You'll be traveling with us. As you can see, Leslie is on the bus with us. Mississauga's transit provider will be reviewing schedules, map services, updates, fares, transfer, and travel. And then we will jump in with Linda in Animal Services, who provides several services across Mississauga, including pet licensing, pet adoption, fostering pets, animal rescues, and emergency shelter and wildlife maintenance. And once again, just a quick thank you to our event sponsor, Evergreen Retirement Community. All right, so first we are going to start with Leslie. So I'm just going to pass you over the presenting option. If you could just accept that, and then you'll be able to share and start presenting.
Perfect. All right, just confirming everyone's able to see my screen.
That looks awesome.
Perfect. All right, so hello everyone. So my name is Leslie Swan, and I am one of the marketing consultants at MiWay, which is the City of Mississauga's public transit system. Today I'm going to be providing some information on how you can get started on MiWay. So today we're going to be covering a few different items. So some general about MiWay information, some information on MiWay services, traveling with MiWay, and connecting with us. So to start about MiWay, so as Ontario's third largest municipal public transit system, MiWay is committed to providing customer-driven, high-quality public transit services that are safe, reliable, clean, and cost-effective. So right now, MiWay has more than 950 transit operators, operating 509 fully accessible transit buses. We have over 80 routes and 3,400 bus stops throughout the city. So MiWay offers two different types of service. So our My Express, which you'll see on our blue buses, makes less stops and along the routes, and it's meant to get you to your destination a little quicker with less stops. The other one that we offer is our My Local service, which is on our orange buses. So these travel along routes, including our school routes, stopping at all of the stops on a given route. So you'll see a mix of both blue buses and orange buses out in Mississauga. So some health and safety information. As of now, a mask or face covering is required. It needs to fit securely and comfortably over your mouth as well as your chin, and it's required on all MiWay buses as well as inside transit terminals. So when you're on the bus, we ask that you leave your mask on and not take it off to talk on the phone or to eat or drink. So we're really doing our best to make sure that our riders can feel safe and confident when they're riding the bus. So we ask that you ensure that you're wearing your mask or face covering. So responding to COVID-19. So as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've implemented several changes to adapt. So some of these include a biohazard barrier that we installed at the operator compartment to offer enhanced protection for our operators. So while this might not be seen as, the most customer friendly, it's really meant for everyone's safety. So transit operators and customer facing staff are also required to wear a medical mask when they're interacting with customers outside of their enclosed workspace. We've also applied a long-acting antimicrobial agents on all of our buses, our change-off cars for operators, as well as any non-revenue vehicles. So we have enhanced cleaning inside of our buses that happens nightly every time the bus comes in. So here's just a couple of images. So next we're going to talk about traveling on MiWay. So step one is really planning your trip. So before heading to your stop, you'll want to either plan your trip or check your schedule so you know what time your bus is coming or the route that you need to take. So you can use the trip planner of TripLinks, which you can find at miway.ca, or you can download the TripLinks app. There's also several other third-party applications that a lot of people use, including Google Transit, which are available as well. So if you want to plan your trip, you'll go to the TripLinks site, which is the official trip planner for the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. So the benefit of this trip planner is if you're traveling between a different city and not just within Mississauga, so say you're going to Brampton or you're going to Oakville, TripLinks is a really great option because it has all the information of the GTA transit providers. So to plan your trip, first you'll want to add your departure location. So as you can see right here, you would add in your address if you know the stop, or if you have a specific destination. For example, you're going to Meadowvale Town Center. You can type that in here at the location A. Next, you'll want to put your destination. So where do you want to go? You'll put that in here. Next, you'll select what day you want to travel. So you're able to plan up to 2 weeks in advance. So if you want to plan for the next day, you select tomorrow's date, or if you're traveling today, just leave it as today. You also have the ability to select whether you want to depart at a certain time or if you need to arrive somewhere. So say you have an appointment at 9 o'clock and you want to make sure that you're there 10 minutes ahead of time, you can put the arrival time to make sure that you have enough time to get there. So once you have this information all filled in, you'll select plan your trip here at the bottom. So this is just an example of what your trip plan might look like. So you'll be able to see a map view over here on the right, which shows your starting destination, the bus route you'll travel on, as well as your end destination. You'll also be able to see it in a described list view. So this information here will have, how long you'll wait at your stop, if there's a transfer involved, if you have to walk anywhere. It has all this detailed information. So you'll see here, you're going to have to walk 23 meters, and then you'll wait until 3:16 to get the bus. So all that information is shown here. So next we'll talk a bit about our fares. So here's a listing of MiWay fares that apply to both seniors and adults. So on MiWay, our senior fare applies to anyone who is 65 years of age or older. We do ask that seniors be prepared to show government issued ID should the transit operator request it. So as you can see, Presto is definitely the most affordable way to travel, other than for seniors who are able to use the $1 cash fare. So for an adult price for single cash fare is $4, but for seniors traveling during off-peak hours, which include 8:30 to 3:30 and 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. on weekdays, or all day on weekends and holidays, they would only have to pay $1. So when you're paying your fare during peak times or for adults, Presto is definitely the cheaper option. And here's just some additional information about our Canadian Forces veterans on Warriors Day, support person, persons with vision loss, and our co-fare with Go Transit. So all of this information is also on our website. So next, we'll talk a little bit about Presto. So Presto is a reloadable fare card that's used across the GTHA. It costs $6 when you first purchase the card. And the benefit of the Presto card is everything's automatically calculated on the card. So when you first tap on, you're going to be given a 2-hour transfer time for when you first tap. And it also saves you money, which is definitely the biggest benefit. So steps for purchasing your Presto card. First, you want to purchase or load funds onto your Presto card. You can do this at prestocard.ca, at a service location. Then you want to make sure that you're setting your fare type. So if the fare type applies to you as an adult, there's no need to do anything to your card. You don't need to set a concession because the default is for an adult. You'll just want to make sure that you register your card, which you can do at prestocard.ca. However, if you're a senior, you want to make sure that you're getting the discounted fare. So you'll set your fare in person to a senior's discount. Then from there, once your card is loaded and you're ready to go, when you get on the bus, you simply tap on the Presto device that's at the front of the bus. Now I'm going to try and show you a video. Let's hope that the sound works. Can you see the YouTube screen? Can I get a thumbs up? I'm going to play. Perfect.
Presto is our seamless regional transit fare card system. It lets customers tap into an easier commute on any participating transit system in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton or Ottawa areas. Presto is a little like that coffee shop card you might use every day, and a little different too. Here's how they're alike. You can buy either one in person or online. You can reload your card in person or remotely. You can register your card to protect against loss or theft. And when you use it, you present it to make your purchase. Here's how they're different. A coffee shop card has to communicate with a central system to make sure you have enough money on your card. That takes a few seconds. Maybe not long in a coffee shop, but an eternity for customers boarding transit. On the other hand, the Presto card is like an electronic purse carrying the balance you have available to spend on fares, but no personal information. When you tap the card on a bus or at the station, the system deducts your fare from the card balance in under a second. And unlike the coffee shop card, the transit system doesn't necessarily communicate every transaction immediately to a central computer. And that leads to something you should know about reloading your card online. It can take up to 24 hours for devices in the transit system to know you've reloaded. Take a bus as an example. Once it leaves the station in the morning, it's disconnected from the central system and can't receive updates on who's reloaded their cards online. The buses get this information at night when they come back to the station. Want to learn more? Visit the Presto website at prestocard.ca. We're always working to make Presto even easier and expanding the locations we serve. If you don't already use Presto, check it out to see how you can tap into an easier commute.
I don't know why, but that the voice in that and the music always reminds me of what I hear when I go to the drive-in. But yeah, so that's just some information about the Presto card. So in the video, they did talk about how when you load your Presto card online, that it can sometimes take up to 24 hours to load the card. The benefit, though, of
Presto is all you need to get to where you want to be. It's convenient, easy.
Sorry about that. The benefit, though, of the Presto app is that the Presto app allows it to be loaded on instantly. So locations that you can load your card are, again, online at prestocard.ca. You can call the Presto line, which is the number is shown here. You can load it at the City Center Transit Terminal, as well as GO stations. There are also select Shoppers Drug Mart locations where you can load your card, and all of those are listed at prestocard.ca, where you can find specific addresses as well as operating hours. So the Presto app, so you can download the Presto app. Some tasks that you can complete within the app are buying a Presto card and creating a Presto account. You can load funds or a transit pass in real time. You can also view your last tap and on the device, as well as looking at your current balance. And you can receive low balance or pass expiry reminders. That way you never forget, if you forget to reload your card, you always are reminded that when you need to reload funds. So the next step, once you've done all that, you've got your fare ready, you'll want to go to your stop. So don't forget your mask, as you must wear them at the transit terminals as well as on buses. We do ask that customers arrive at their stop 5 minutes before the bus is scheduled to leave, just because sometimes the bus can be a couple minutes early, sometimes it's a couple minutes late, just better to give yourself extra time. We ask that customers be courteous, practice social distancing where possible when they're at stops or at terminals. And we do encourage you to wait in line when you're waiting for your bus. There are certain bus routes that have regular customers that will start forming a line, and it just allows for easier boarding. So next, when your bus arrives, you'll want to pay your fare. So when you board the bus at the front doors, if you're using Presto, you can see in the image here, this is the Presto device. You'll simply tap your card there. But if you're paying with cash, right over here in front of the barrier for the transit operators, that is where you'll insert your cash fare. And then they'd be able to provide you with a transfer at that point. So again, the benefit of Presto is it's a contactless way to pay. And you also get a 2-hour transfer when you first tap on the bus. So ride safely. While you're on the bus, we either ask that you take a seat if there's space, or that you hold on to a handrail or the hanging loops at the top. So we ask that customers, when they board, move to the back of the bus and stand behind the yellow line at the front of the door, just for everyone's safety. So our accessible services. So the seats at the front of all MiWay buses are reserved for customers with accessibility needs. So we ask that if you don't require these seats, to move to the back and allow these seats to be saved. So all MiWay buses are fully accessible, which means they have low floor kneeling buses, and they also have ramps that help passengers board and exit the bus if required. All of our buses also have verbal and visual announcements at each upcoming stop. So the stop information is going to be announced before you get to your next stop. It's also displayed visually on the digital display signs that are on board. So when you're on the bus and you are ready to get off when they've announced your stop, you'll want to just pull down on the yellow cord or push the stop button. So this will request your stop so the operator knows that you'd like to get off. Exiting the bus. So we ask that you just take a quick look around, making sure you have all your belongings before you exit. We do ask that you exit at the back door. So we do try and encourage front boarding and then rear exit. However, if you have any accessible needs that you need the ramp or you need to have the bus lowered, then you're more than welcome to go to the front to exit. If you're crossing the street, again, we recommend that everyone crosses at a signalized light and not to jaywalk through traffic, just for everyone's safety. And again, given current times, we also encourage people to protect themselves and others by washing their hands with soap and water or using hand sanitizer when they finish their trip. And lastly, we're here to help. So if you have any more questions, we like to post everything on our website. So we have tons of information there, but you can also give us a call or send us an email. So here it shows our customer service line. You can also follow us on Twitter or Facebook. We post regular updates there as well. But again, always feel free to email or give us a call should you have any questions or concerns. And that's it, just to open it up for any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, Leslie. That was wonderful. That was a perfect overview. I know there's always a few little questions or changes or updates that people don't know about. So I think you covered everything. I'm just going to take a quick look in the chat here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to place them in the chat. You can also use the question and answer option, or if you raise your hand through the reactions button, I will see it come up on my screen that there is a question. Just give everyone a few minutes while we're waiting. I will pass over the presenting to Linda so she can get ready here. I don't see anything coming up right now, but if you're able to stay, there may be some questions at the end.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. All right, Linda, are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. You should be good to go if you wanted to start sharing.
All right, let's see. I'm going to make sure I've got my right screen here. Oh, here we are. Okay. Oops. Can everyone see that okay?
Perfect. That looks lovely.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Katie. My name's Linda Dent, and I'm with Animal Services. I'm one of the education officers here. And thank you, Leslie, for that wonderful presentation. I learned some things. I didn't know that the reason for the blue buses and the orange buses. So yeah, that was very informative. Thank you. I'm here today to talk a little bit about animal services and what we do in the community. I've got a few, it's been a little challenging during COVID, but we do have a few new, I think a few new things to talk about today. So hopefully, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. We are the animal shelter in Mississauga. We're part of the city of Mississauga. And we have been around since 1979, so over 42 years, working with animals and having a shelter here and run by the city. A little fewer years than that, but we've been in the same location for a very long time. Over that time, a lot of things have changed, so we're happy to talk about those today. First of all, just a quick housekeeping thing. We are located at 735 Central Parkway West. That is our only location. The facility is fully accessible and it's free parking. We do operate 10 to 6 weekdays, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and we are closed Sundays and holidays. The shelter is closed. However, we have our community services that are 24/7. So that's a little bit of a difference. Sometimes people say, oh, I called you on the weekend and you were closed. If you're requiring assistance in the community, we actually have officers available 7 days a week. So it's just a matter of going through 311 or through our dispatch, which we'll cover later. Right now, because of COVID, shelter visits are limited to appointments only. So if you're coming for a pet license or you're looking to adopt a pet, we do ask that you call us in advance. The shelter staff are happy to set up an appointment for you. And when you come to the shelter, all you have to do is call the number they give you and they'll be happy to walk you in. We do shelter cleans in between for everyone's safety when people come into the building and do the high touch points and disinfecting as well. So a little bit of a difference there right now. Our services are pet licensing, of course. So for dogs and cats, they are required to be licensed, and we do. You can purchase them here at the shelter, but more importantly, you can purchase them online, which is a wonderful option. And now we're trying to actually get just through email. If people are willing to share their emails, we're not sending out advertising or anything like that, or collecting them for any other purpose. But for pet licensing, we're looking into those options, trying to go a little greener versus mail outs and those kinds of things. If you're interested in that. We do impounds, which sounds pretty technical, but basically that's a lost animal that's come to the shelter. And surrenders are including animals that people can no longer keep anymore and they're looking for a new home. Lost and found is a big part of our business here. So we have all of our lost and found animals online. So if you have lost a pet, please contact the shelter. They're all posted online. If you find a pet, all of the lost pets are online as well with the city's website. You can find those. And of course, pet adoptions, very important. We get those pets new homes. And technically, we do rabies quarantine for animals that may have been running loose and bit somebody or don't have owners, that kind of thing. And protective care would be more for a pet, say that an unfortunate situation has happened and say the pet owner had to go to the hospital, or we will hold the pet till a family member can come and collect it. Let's see. So if you've been to the shelter before, I think the shelter was built in the 80s and it was renovated in 2003-04. Now we're looking at possibly renovating again, but I can't say that's an official statement. We do have a lot of interesting highlights for the building, but things change very quickly. And I'll just illustrate some of the highlights that we have right now. One of the very important things we have are these new kennel portals. And it doesn't look very exciting, but you can see this is actually a linked cage. So say the cat was in one kennel with his litter box, he can go through the little portal on the wall there and go into the other side and have his food dish. And sometimes they have little housing boxes in there if they're a shy cat. Or sometimes they want to be higher on a ledge, so they have these little stools and they'll put a blanket or something on top. So it just gives a lot more room for the cats to feel a little more comfortable. It's very stressful for pets at an animal shelter, and the portals were something we can utilize to give, especially a long staying pet, and we try to get them adopted. We have very good adoption times, but if they're here for a long time, we want them to be as comfortable as possible. And when they only had the one kennel, they would be sleeping in their litter box, or it wasn't very nice for them. So we're really happy. It's a small thing, but it has made a big difference. And that was done through shelter donations. We have our scarf fund, and that was part of our shelter donation program to put those in. We're also looking at enlarging our dog kennels as well, which is going to be great. Something that maybe not everyone's excited about, but we are very excited. We have the city has gone with a new program for recycling of pet waste. And we have had a pilot project here for approximately a year. And the Sutera company actually comes and collects all the pet waste. And actually it's food waste as well. So we do all our organic waste. pet bedding like shavings, those types of things for our rabbits, the pet waste itself, and sorry, human food from our organic bins all go into this unit, and it's an underground unit. There's absolutely no odor. It's actually been a great project, and we've managed to divert 52% of the waste coming from this facility alone into the Suterra program, and it's used to make energy. So it goes into a natural energy uh, recycling program, which is wonderful. So I know that the city itself is looking at doing parks, including this in our parks. I think they had some pilot projects as well. So that is a big step forward in, you know, going our footprint getting smaller and smaller here at the shelter. Programs, a lot of the same programs, I'm sure anyone who's familiar with the shelter. We have our volunteer program, which is currently on hold because of COVID. We are still looking for foster care homes for cats with kittens, orphaned kittens that need bottle feeding. The SCARF program is our monetary donation program, and that's where the portals came in there. You saw that was one of our shelter improvements, but it also does medical bills, surgeries. A lot of times shelters are finding they may not get as many pets into the buildings now, but we get a lot of pets that need expensive surgeries, or, you know, something that they need to do to make them adoptable and comfortable, and obviously, you know, so they're not in any kind of pain or anything like that. Our donation program is for you know, food. If we accept food donations, blankets, towels, all those great kind of things, gently used pet items if you no longer have your pet. Our public education program, which is part of today, but also out in the community when we're allowed to go back out in the community and the schools as well. And our SCARF program also funds the fire department's pet oxygen mask program too. So thank you to everyone for donating to the shelter, because it does go directly to help the animals, which is great. Our ARC program, which is our community outreach, going out into the community, talking about coyotes, pet licensing, is currently on hold due to COVID. And I'm sort of mentioning this ahead of schedule, but our goal is to have a pet food bank program, and shelters are trying to become more community-based because we don't have the influx of animals coming to the shelter for adoption, and it's more that we have sort of animals that we need to take care of. The food bank program is for leftover donations that we can't use at the shelter. Nothing goes to waste. So whether we're placing it into our trap, neuter, return programs for feral cats, we also have animals that are transferred to wildlife rehab, and they require food as well. Anything that we cannot feed the pets here at the shelter, we are distributing between rescue groups, and also for community needs as well. If we have a situation where our officers are out in the community and they come across someone who may want to relinquish their pet because they can no longer afford to feed it, we're trying to get this built so that we can have kind of a pet depot situation where we can possibly help out, so to keep those pets in their homes, which is really what it's all about. And speaking of that, I'm going into our new Safe Pet, which is not our program. This is through the Ontario Veterinary Medical Association and through Peel Police. And we are the shelter portion where if an animal is, somebody is in a situation where it's domestic violence, human trafficking, any of those kinds of situations, and they have a pet in the home or wherever they may be, a lot of times they will not, you know, seek safety because they're afraid for their pets. So we're just networking now to help contribute to that so that we can be a temporary place for pets if somebody needs to seek assistance in those areas. And we will be in the future looking out to the community for foster homes that we can place those pets in until they can be returned to their owner. So again, all of that is trying to keep pets with their families, and versus having them come to shelters for all the reasons that, you know, are really unfortunate but might be temporary, and we want to be able to try and look at those areas and see how we can help the community. A trap neuter return program is relatively new, so the bylaw was revised to support this. And we have public education materials, we loan out traps, we have community assistance for individuals who may call and say, look, I've been feeding these cats, I need to get them spay neutered, I can't afford it. We work with them and we teach them how to safely and humanely capture the cats. And then we work with them to spay neuter. The only caveat to this right now is our spay neuter services are rather limited because of COVID. So kind of has taken a little bit of a step back on the spay neuter, which we'll pick up again as soon as veterinarians are open at full capacity. They have to keep their services open for their clients at this time. Oh, and sorry, just go back a minute. That was that's one of our feral cat holding areas. So they have the portal cages, but we also have to cover them while they're spayed neuters. This is kind of a recovery period because trap neuter return means that they are returned, but they're spayed and neutered, they're vaccinated for rabies, and they would be returned back to where they were found, and the caretaker would continue to care for them. And we've got lots and lots of wonderful rescue groups out there that do this on their own dime and look after colonies of cats and things. So this is, we're trying to contribute and network with them as well. I want to say, I had to throw this in because I like to draw attention to it. The shelter here is now boasting a 97.5% save rate in pets, which means that pretty much every pet that can be adopted or returned home is. And the ones that we cannot, because they cannot be, cannot have veterinary care to correct any issues or illness, or they can't live pain-free, those would be in the other percentage. But we're very, very happy. That is a great accomplishment, and I have to say our staff is very compassionate and very happy, and yeah, it's one of our big things here. So we have the two areas. We have our animal shelter and all the programs and services that go along with that, but we also have our community services. So these are the bylaw enforcement officers, and a lot of people just think, we're out there just doing dog, put your dog on a leash, pick up after your dog, and pet licensing. But our officers, almost 50% of our calls are related to wildlife in the community, and it could be anything from animals hit by a car to injured, orphaned, all those different kinds of things. So they do emergency calls, they work with emergency services, and we'll just kind of go through a couple here. And oh yes, and now we have 24-hour service. We had 24-hour service for emergencies, but we've gone 24/7 with our officers, which is a big change. So if, say, you found a dog in the middle of the night that was lost, no owner in sight, no tags, you would have to hold the dog to the morning at your home until we could pick it up in the morning. Well, now we have officers that can actually go and pick up the pet and bring it back to the shelter for its safety. So again, just the kind of 4 pillars where animal controls all started at was enforcing the bylaws, the pet licensing. Pet licensing does go to support the animal shelter and all of our services, and stoop and scoop leash and animals running loose. But one of the things that is new, well, I can't really say it's new, but the OSPCA no longer investigates animal welfare, and we have the Provincial Animal Welfare Service, which is relatively new in the last year. But Mississauga was kind of forward thinking, and we started doing animal welfare. We wrote it into the bylaws in 2014, and it allowed us the opportunity to get out and actually investigate preliminary, easy for me to say, preliminary investigations if there was things on shelter, food, water, and some other things were actually included in the bylaw as well, because we used to get a lot of complaints about these things, and it was difficult. The OSPCA was overwhelmed. They didn't have the officers or the availability to service the large, GTA areas. And again, I'm pleased to say that Mississauga was one of the first, if not the first, in the GTA to include this in our bylaw, so we could investigate them through animal services. So we do extreme weather. If somebody is leaving a pet out for extended periods, it could be extremely hot weather, it could be extremely cold weather. They are able to issue what we call a notice of contravention and ask them to bring the animal inside or whatever they have to do. if that is not followed through with, they do have the option of issuing a fine, but they also have the option of contacting the Provincial Animal Welfare Service, and they will take it from there. Tethering. We don't see a lot of tethering anymore, but it's basically tying a dog up and leaving it for long periods of time. And sometimes it is necessary for safety to have your dog tied because they might like to run. But you know, if they're tied up and it's dangerous, I know going out to calls myself for different years where, you know, the dog got all tangled up and was, you know, had its head like a foot from its stake or doghouse or whatever because it was tied up. So we are able to investigate cases of that as well. Pets in vehicles, very important in the summer. We have a lot of calls for, not so much now because there isn't a lot of shopping going on, but when the malls were fully opened and people could go, a lot of times, you know, we would get calls for parking lots with a dog in a car for extended periods of time in the hot weather. Vet care also included. So, you know, if someone was unable or unwilling to take their pet that required vet care to a vet, we would be able to investigate. Dog bite investigations, we probably receive 200 to 300 reports a year. It could be minor, it could be just a, you know, an accidental issue, but certainly we do have the ability to go and investigate. And our job is to make sure that, you know, was this accidental? Is it something that's going to happen again? Do charges need to be laid? We're not there to take away dogs. Dogs usually stay in the home. It's just or it could just be an educational thing as well. But the ability is there to have a dog muzzled or other court restrictions could also be imposed if it is a dangerous situation. Too many. So if you if your neighbor has, you know, 100 dogs, we can go take a look at that. Or any prohibited animals. So those are mainly exotics and animals that are not suitable for the city. Could be livestock, those kinds of things. I know we're looking at urban hens, so we'll see how that goes. I think the city's looking at a pilot project for urban hens. Feeding wildlife. So we do investigate feeding wildlife. You are allowed to feed the birds, but if you are dumping food in parks, boulevards, or you have, you know, wildlife coming to your backyard, it's also affecting your neighbors and probably affecting the animal itself. So most of that is our educational approach to teaching people how to feed birds responsibly, or at least to the point where they're not attracting raccoons and other things to their feeders. Animal rescue. So again, we do both pets and wildlife. They could be urgent situations, you know, sometimes dangerous situations. The officers are often called out to. And Leslie, I will tell you that a transit operator actually stopped for this call with the dog on the little overpass there and blocked off traffic for us. So
I've seen
we
them
were
block off traffic for the ducks and stuff too, which is super cute. I saw that in the news one time, so
oh,
that's
right.
awesome.
I know. So we really appreciate that. It's, you know, and this little dog, we were able to get him off and he was able to be reunited with his owner. So yes, that was great. And of course, if there are any highway emergencies, car accidents, people are, you know, trucks are moving animals and sometimes accidents happen. So we are a support for that as well. Wildlife rescue. So our wildlife rescue is for animals in trouble. We don't remove animals from homes. We do not do like pest control or anything like that. But if a wild animal is in trouble, immediate danger, please call animal services. They will go out and do their best to help that animal. I called this wildlife interventions, but we do a lot of the ducks crossing the road, for instance. That is a popular one during the summertime. Our officers do attend and try to help the animals get safely across, or you know, stand by and ensure they get safely across busy roadways. Geese and ducks like to walk their little babies all over the place, so it is an interesting job sometimes. And if we have coyote issues, which we had one where it was a coyote den site, and we've got our sign in the top left there, we were asking people to keep out of that area, and everything turned out fine. There was no trouble with the coyotes. There was no nothing with dogs, and people really respected the signage, so we were really grateful for that. and the animals have moved on. So once the pups were old enough, the coyote parents took off with them and are probably in the area, but not directly where the den site was. Deer, we get a lot of requests for helping deer, helping fawns, and I'll talk a little bit about orphans really quickly. But sometimes we can just monitor the situation. Adult deer are very difficult to deal with, and we are unable to, we can't tranquilize them. We have to kind of stand by. And this particular one, for whatever reason, ended up on somebody's front step. So we had to monitor. We didn't want to spook it. And I mean, if you start to chase it or try to catch it, they're very strong. They can be dangerous to people. We just had to hope that he wandered off, and sure enough, overnight he did wander off and was fine. And we have our sign on the bottom right, and that's a situation that is currently happening. We're just asking dog walkers to avoid a certain park because it's fine for people, but when coyotes have a den site, they do not like dogs because in the wild, another canine or another canid would attack their pups. So they're very wary when dogs come around, and it's usually a temporary situation. And we're almost done. Reuniting orphans is a lot of our job during the summertime. Sometimes people pick up little babies and they really should have left them where they were. You know, squirrels that look healthy enough and don't have any bugs or fleas or anything on them, mom's probably nearby and going to grab them and take them back up to the nest. Little ducklings and goslings sometimes get lost, lose their way from where the parent is, or maybe the mother got scared off. So a lot of times we spend trying to put them back, or, you know, coach people in getting them back. We really recommend that anyone who thinks they found an orphan, whether it be bird, mammal, is to contact a wildlife rehabilitator and get good advice from them first. And then we are kind of the last resort at that point if they cannot get them reunited. All wild animals, their best chance is with their parents. That's the rehabilitators are overwhelmed usually by April, May, and they're in far-reaching places, and there's not that many of them. So it's really, really important we all do our best to try and get them back to their parents, which is what we would want if we had kids. And wildlife education, I think that's our biggest, you know, mainly we are out there educating people about coyotes, foxes. People are, you know, sometimes alarmed to see them or worried about them or what they might do. Trapping animals, really not the best solution. So we like to give them other options and find out, you know, what are the issues and how can we resolve them. Feeding of wildlife, or if you're, you know, if wildlife is coming along to have a meal on your deck or wherever, we can usually help people navigate those situations as well. And pest control, if they, you know, we can give them deterrent ideas, those kinds of things to hopefully they can just, the animal will move on by itself. One of our new features is our online coyote reporting map. So anyone can go to the city's website and just under services, animal services comes up first, and just go to our wildlife section, and there's a link there for the coyote map. So if you've seen a coyote, you want to know where all the coyotes are being seen, all of the dots on the map represent sightings. So it could be the same animal moving around, but it gives us an idea of where these animals are being seen, what's going on. And there's a little legend there that tells you what all the different colors and shapes mean. And last, I think last but not least, we do a lot of wildlife networking just because there's a need for it. And one of the things that is difficult for us is we respond to the calls, we get the animals. It's very difficult to get them to rehab centers. Most of them are in outlying areas. Toronto Wildlife Center is in Downsview. They will be moving to the Rouge Valley. I know they've already set some of their things up there. Or we're going to, you know, Hamilton, the other side of Hamilton, or sometimes towards Niagara, sometimes up north near Shelburne. So it's very difficult to get these animals. You know, if they do, it turns out we can't reunite them with their parents, or the peregrine falcon. We actually had the Peregrine Falcon Society involved. So we do a lot of networking to try and get the best outcomes for these animals. We also are the service to call if, you know, a raccoon has distemper. There is no cure for that. We will come and pick the animal up and humanely euthanize it. It can't be transferred to a center. It ultimately would likely be fatal and definitely highly contagious to all the animals in their care. So there are situations where, you know, the best outcome is a humane euthanasia situation, which is just reality for animals that are living in the city. And I think that's it. So I'm happy to try and answer any questions. This is our main number, and our 24/7 number, it's just option 1, which is probably going to remain the same, but or you can go to the city's website. We have lots of information there as well, and you know, we just want everyone to have a safe and happy summer, and hopefully all the animals will raise their families and we'll all be getting back to our new normal soon.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.